All right, joining us this morning, Jeffrey Schwarz. He's director and producer of a new documentary. It is called I Am Divine. And sorry, we're kind of caught mid-conversation here, but this is very interesting, and I really want to see this. Tell me how you got interested in Divine's life. I mean, he's pretty much known worldwide, but why did you decide to make this documentary?
Well, I always loved Divine and the films of John Waters. When I was growing up, I felt like I was sort of on the outside. I felt like a little bit like a freak, you know, and Divine spoke to me because as a kid, he was bullied. He went to high school in suburban Baltimore in the 60s. This was not really a time when people who were effeminate or overweight or gay were really accepted. Still, it's still the case today. But when he was going to school, he just felt like he was on the outside looking in. And then he met John Waters, there he is, John Waters, and a bunch of other people in suburban Baltimore who were all the other outsiders and the rebels and the freaks. And then they encouraged him and they loved him. And then he developed this Divine character by making movies with John Waters. And bit by bit by bit, he became an underground superstar.
Now, you actually got to meet his mother, and did he have any siblings as well?
No, he was an only child.
Okay.
He grew up in suburban Baltimore. His mom and dad adored him and loved him. And even when he was a kid, he was effeminate and overweight. And the doctor even told Divine's mother, he was Glenn Milstead at the time, you know, that he's more feminine than he is masculine. And she didn't get upset or freak out. I mean, she was worried for him that he would have a harder time in life, but she accepted him. And she said, this is what God gave us, and we're going to love him and accept him. And but they did go through about a 10-year period where they were estranged. You know, as Divine was becoming divine and doing all these outrageous things in the movies, his mom and dad didn't even know about it. But they did reunite around the time of Hairspray, which was the biggest success that Divine had ever had, where he played Edna Turnblad. And you know, they did reunite, and they had a lovely relationship at the end, toward the end of his life.
And then shortly after that, he died.
And he died right after Hairspray came out. And you know, they'd been struggling and working and making these sort of more underground movies. And Hairspray comes out. It's a PG feel-good musical, with movie stars in it. And that was in '88. And I remember that was the first time I saw Divine in a movie. It was actually, I kind of worked backwards from Hairspray. And I remember thinking at the time that how unfair it was that at the height of his popularity, and finally he had this mainstream success that he always wanted, and he was taken from us. And I thought, there will never be another Divine movie. But now we have another Divine movie, 25 years later.
Is it a movie of acceptance?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because it was really a movie about accepting yourself. Because Divine was told all his life that there was something wrong with him because he was overweight, because he was effeminate, because of various things. And he learned to accept himself through creativity. And through creating this Divine character, as Glenn, when he was out of drag, he was very quiet, very soft-spoken, very lovely man with a lot of love in his heart. As Divine, he could be outrageous and be filthy and curse and just do everything that the Glenn would never ever do. So it was very cathartic for him.
Sure. What about for you making the movie? Is that what you learned a little bit about how passionate he was and maybe how reserved he was off stage?
That was something that really struck me, that the difference between Glenn, who if you saw him walking down the street, he would be sort of a bald, overweight guy. You might not even look twice, but if you saw Divine walk, you might run the other way if you saw Divine running toward you down the street. But that's something that really touched me about it, that, you know, as Divine, he could be outrageous, larger than life. And I really wanted people to see that, and I really wanted people to understand and learn about the man behind all the glamour, the man underneath all the wigs and the makeup, and that he could be an inspiration for kids today. Anybody, especially now, there's all this talk about bullying and the hard times that kids who are not accepted go through. You know, Divine went through that, and he came out the other side, and he lived a wonderful, happy life, and he lived his dreams. He always wanted to be a movie star. You know, he wanted to be Elizabeth Taylor, really, right? But how is that going to be possible? You know, first of all, he's a man, and he's grown up in suburban Baltimore, about as far as Hollywood as you can get. But he became a movie star.
But now he could be an inspiration.
I feel that way too.
Posthumously, you know, as an inspiration.
I feel like I would love for younger people to see this movie who might not be familiar with his life and his work. I feel like he can be an inspiration. It's sort of, you know, the It Gets Better campaign. It's sort of like the ultimate It Gets Better campaign. To live life on your own terms. Don't care what anyone thinks of you. Just be who you are. Parade down that street in the middle of your town dressed in full drag and see what happens. That's what he did.
Well, you can see the movie. It already debuted, by the way, over the weekend, but there's another showing Wednesday night and Thursday morning. And where can people go to get more information?
There's a website, divinemovie.com. We have a very lively Facebook page with thousands and thousands of fans. So you can check it out.
And you said the response was great.
The response was great. People have been waiting to see this movie, and it was so great. It was the first time I'd ever seen it with a crowd, and people went nuts, and we had a really good time. And I'm going to London tomorrow. We're going to screen it all over the world, and Divine has fans all over the world.
Great. We can check out the Facebook page. Thanks so much. We appreciate it, Jeffrey.
My pleasure.
All right.